Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Magic Mics. Proudly sponsored by our Patreon supporters and CoolStuffInc.com, where you can find cool stuff in stock every day, and our co-sponsor CardHoarder.com, offering the best inventory prices and delivery of cards for Magic Online. I am Evan Irwin, and we get started each week by saying hello to my two co-hosts. I'm so excited. Aaron Campbell.
What do we say to our two co-hosts?
We say hello. We're saying hello. I'm getting through my words too quickly. Hi, Aaron.
Happy Hump Day.
It's a hump day, all right. Ruben,
Hump day.
how's it going?
Hello. How are you?
Hello. How's it going, Goff? It's terrific. We have so much to talk about. Again, another week.
Let's get into it.
Full of awesome things. First, we always get started with our trumpet blast, but you can get one if you support us at our highest level on Patreon. We don't have any this week, but we should have some soon. And again, if you want to be part of it, that's where you can do it. There's some announcements about the show for next week, because next week is GP Vegas, and that's a thing. That's a whole thing. There's no live show next week.
Right. Headline is: do not show up here next week on this channel. Our live show will be recorded and posted later.
Yes. So the live show will be on Saturday at noon at the Grand Prix. If you want to show up for the live show, the real live show, that's the thing. And this time, I don't think there's going to be like a ton of space for us in the audience, which is going to be awesome. They'll be closer. That'll be sweet. However, we're not just doing the one live show at Vegas. We're doing other stuff. Ruben is going to be part of a comedy show.
Yes.
Friday at 4 o'clock. Who are you doing that with, Ruben?
So this is basically an improv show. We're doing an episode of, whose sideboard is it anyway? I don't know what we're calling the show, actually, but it's
That's a great name, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. Whose
sideboard is it anyway?
I don't know. I'll think of something. I'm great at improv, so I'm sure I'll think of something. So it's myself, Tappy Toe Claus, Ninox Morepork, a.k.a. Michelle Rapp from the Lurgoys podcast, and Jason Alt from Brainstorm Brewery.
Awesome.
Well, who's also a professional stand-up comedian. So.
Right before the live show for Magic Mics, I'll be on a streaming and community building panel Saturday at 10:30 a.m. And of course, Ruben has his big headline, huge spotlight, boarding the Weatherlight, live Dungeons and Dragons from 3 to 6 o'clock on Sunday.
Yeah,
that's exciting.
Obviously, I'm super excited about that. And that's getting some traction on Twitter. I wasn't expecting it to blow up quite as big. But that's with Tappy Toe Claus and Michelle. They are the captain and the first mate, really, Joyra and Shauna, as well as Cam from Loading Ready Run. Nice. Cam Louder as Raph. Wedge the Manosaurus is going to be our Slimefoot.
Oh, man.
Ashlyn Rose, another cosplay actress you might recognize as Gloria from R&D in the Tellurian Community College videos, among other roles. And then Jordan Pridgeon and Gaurav Gulati from the Saving Throw Show Network is going to be our Arvod and our Squee. That is a role-playing game channel. That they stream lots of different role-playing games. One of their big hit shows is called Wild Cards, which is on Friday nights, which is sort of a frontier cowboy western horror mashup kind of show. And the fact that I'm working the Saving Throw show is a good sign. So you might want to stick around for more announcements as they come out for Board the Weatherlight. But that's going to be Sunday of the GP, 3 to 6 p.m.
Wow, that's exciting. And Ruben and I will also be doing spell slinging Thursday and Friday, noon to 4. Is that correct?
Yeah, I believe that's correct. That's been the schedule for Seattle, and Seattle was a similar event, big setup, multiple GP kind of thing. So I think that's how it's going to play out.
Fair enough. And Aaron doesn't actually get there until what, Friday night, Saturday morning?
Yeah, I started a new job on Monday to where I couldn't get 3 or 4 days off, but I'm doing my Rockstar tours. So I land late Friday evening. I get there around 10 p.m. and then I'm there all day Saturday, and then I'm there Sunday morning, and then I leave around lunchtime on Sunday. So I'll be there for the live show. The ladies on the grind play it forward. We're having a ladies' dinner on Saturday night where we get together and compare notes and have a wonderful time. We also have our patron dinner on Saturday night, which I'm looking forward to. Yep. I get to play paper vintage on Saturday Saturday, you know, while these guys are busy, you know, socializing, one of us has to actually play competitive Magic. You know what I'm saying? So
not doing it.
So I will be doing some competitive Vintage on Saturday, which should be awesome. And I'm just excited. I think that for me, it's going to be a fun challenge to see how much I can squeeze into, you know, basically a day and a half of Vegas. But I'm excited to see you guys and just to see all the people and the artists and how many vendors are going to be there. And it's going to be a wild time.
Absolutely. Yes. So let's go ahead and kick off the actual factual show with the first pick and the giveaway.
Wait. Yeah, giveaway. I was going to say.
All right. Yes, as it's written in the script.
Cool, man. Sorry.
Giveaway link in the chat. $50 gift certificate. Okay, to be fine. Buy whatever you want. You can get whatever you want. Yep. You know.
Set for the correct 60 minutes this time.
Set for the actual correct time. You know, a man gets it wrong multiple times, and you just won't.
Fool me 5 times.
That's what when men get it wrong multiple times, women call that ammo.
Wow. Well, here we are. Let's move on here to the actual factual Pro Tour Dominaria, our first pick. Because, wow, it was an incredible event. I didn't get to watch as much of it as I wanted to, but what I did see, particularly for the first day, was amazing. I have never, and I'm telling you, that I can recall all the way back to when they first started showing PT limited drafting, have I ever looked forward to it. I've you know, until now, until Dominaria, I was like, oh man, I get to see more Dominaria limited? Because the matches were terrific. Did you see Sam Black's 5-color 3 compass?
Sure did.
Woo! Oh, Ruben, that
Sam
was
Black.
like...
This reminds me of I think it might have been, there was one of the Amonkhet Pro Tours, he had built a really spicy, like, Hour of Promise deck. And I remember he was facing Travis Wu, and just the look on Travis's face. Travis is known for playing kind of spicy brews himself, but I remember just the look on his face where he's like, what am I facing exactly? And, you know, Sam Black has become the reason why I watch the Pro Tours. You know, I live for the spicy decks, the random decks, and just when you see Primeval's Glorious Rebirth and Joyra and Arvad, and it's like, how did he get all of these cards?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, his deck was something else. I counted, I think, 8 cards that I would willingly take first pick, first pack. Yeah. They must have all been opened in pack 3 because they're all difficult to cast. But yeah, that was a delight. All of the first day of limited, you could not have had 3 better matches to watch. The Jerry and Sam Black, of course, being the best of the choice.
Their banter was great, too. If you heard the banter in between rounds, it was obvious that they were friends and they were having fun.
Oh, yeah, which was terrific. And, you know, there were people who were pushing it sort of in LSV's face, be like, hey, you know, you said the Compass was unplayable. He's like, well, also, you know, everyone doesn't get 10 rares in their deck. So
Right, we didn't draw it up with the Joyra Primeval's Glorious Rebirth deck. So, you know. Mistakes can be made.
All right, so we also did a Pro Tour draft where we got to choose 3 players in a team, and then and I'll put the link here in the chat. You can view that if you'd like. And essentially, we chose Aaron chose Willie Edel, Autumn Burchett, Eduardo Saljic. Is that right?
Sajalik.
And Haru Yulatin. All of those match points combined was 252 points. That won. Congratulations, Aaron.
Thank you.
Yeah. Second place went to myself after drafting a killer team, if I do say so myself, of Seth Manfield, Reed Duke, and Andrea Mengucci, who together made 102 match points, which is ridiculous. Yeah. Or I'm sorry, they made the 99 match points only. Meanwhile, at 30 match points total is Ruben with Yui Jensen. How do you say the second
Svenum Bjornerud.
Svenum Bjornerud, Shota Yasuka. Ultimate Guard Pro was the team. Luckily, that was the second best team, followed by Haru Yulatin, which was Aaron's choice. Musashi didn't do quite as well, about 70-point difference between those teams. And between all of that, ultimately the totals, 252 Aaron wins. Ruben sneaks by at 203.
Because of the team thing.
And I'm at 201.
That's horrendous, in my opinion. Like, the fact that Huey got 6 points and Shota got 3 points, and the lowest scoring player on either of your teams was 21. Like, somehow I got second place.
No, the lowest on my team was 30.
30, yeah. So, like, so for future drafts, we're redoing the way we count up points.
Right.
Because
I see how it is. I finally win a draft.
No.
Suddenly you have a problem with the system.
Here's the thing. You still win with the new system.
The new system divides the team by 3. where you can essentially say, instead of being what you said, 60% of the grade, it's like 40% essentially.
Yeah, instead of being 2/3 of the grade, because you are counting all of the team's points,
right,
which are 6 players against the 3 individual choices. Now we're dividing it by 3 so that it counts as essentially 2 players. So you're still 40%, and each individual choice is 20%, but the total is worth more.
Right. So,
and even in that system, Aaron gets first, and then I correctly get way last. Like maybe last ever in the history of us doing these Pro Tour drafts.
That was a rough one. To have only 3 points for Shota was like, whoa. I had to check that one twice.
I want to touch on Willie for a second. Did you guys happen to check out his deck tech?
It's so great.
Oh
it was
my god!
lovely.
So Willie showed up with
a state of mind.
So Willie shows up for the standard portion with a mono black control list, and it's sold. He sells the whole thing as really being a Jund deck tech, and he just talks about how Jund is more than just a 3-color combination, and it's a way of being, and you can tell that Maria is just so entertained, and he's just so delightful, and he has charisma for days. And I have to say, I must have watched that deck tech a couple times at least, and just laughed through the whole thing. And God bless Willie Edelay. I wish all deck techs could be that enjoyable.
They definitely chose some great folks to interview and talk with and do the deck techs with. Every once in a while you'll get a dead fish in the booth, but it seemed like it was all like Lucas Esperberto. Man, that guy has some chops. That guy can be on TV. Yeah. And I just would never have thought it. Just like kind of out of nowhere. And so it seems like some folks got some media training, which was nice. I was just totally entertained the whole weekend. It didn't hurt me personally that mountains were all over the place. Purple Mountains majesties.
Boy.
Across the fruited plain.
I'll actually agree with you on something, Ruben. I'm famous for sort of not liking mono red decks. Obviously I still have yet to hang up the mountain, but I was in the chat. I was watching coverage for 2 of the days. I was doing a lot of moderating in the chat, and I have to say, chat was giving the mono red decks a lot of flack for being unoriginal and being kind of face roll and kind of boring. I have to say, even I felt like the matches were very skill intensive and that it didn't deserve that reputation as being sort of easy to pilot. Like there were games there. But even the finals, people were like, Gonzalo could have won that last turn. And I was like, how? There were a lot of lines that, I think we assume that red is easy to play and that it is sort of, non-intuitive. But no, there were a lot of lines that even I didn't see coming until chat brought it up or coverage brought it up. And definitely, mono red showing that it does take more to pilot and it's not just turn them sideways.
And boy, that last runner, the 1%er into the 1%er to win the Pro Tour for Wyatt Darby.
Yeah.
Pride of Iowa City.
Get there.
Yeah, the third best city for Magic the Gathering in Iowa. That was a heck of an end to an already spectacular tournament. Not without controversy.
Yeah, 28 copies of Chain Whirler, right? So here was the thing, right? So Goblin Chain Whirler to me is very much a development card, and I'll say that for a few reasons. One, they brought back Llanowar Elves, okay? So you need something to stop Llanowar Elves from just taking over. So that's a thing. It kills Llanowar Elves. Here was another part. This to me was the scalpel part, because both of the best Planeswalkers in Standard, at least non-Karn Planeswalkers, being Teferi and Chandra, whenever they use their minus, they only have 1 loyalty left, which is exactly enough for Chain Whirler to finish them off. So that to me, again, those are the little knobs they kind of turn for the format. And so, I want to see what happens when we snap back, because mono red isn't going to win forever now, because now everyone knows. Or red black. Oh, sorry, you can splash your 1 removal spell or whatever. Yep. But the idea essentially that Goblin Chain Whirler is ban worthy is silly. It's just time for the snapback. Now, we had this problem with Smuggler's Copter, but there wasn't the snapback. It was just the best thing you could be doing, so it didn't matter. So if we have another large Standard event and it's just mono Chain Whirlers, I think the conversation is different. This to me was very much a metagame call, and a third of the field had Chain Whirlers, and 7 of the 8 had them in the top 8.
Well, the discussion was a lot more well-rounded than that. There were people saying that, kind of arguing about the design of it. It's like bringing up the rampaging Ferocidon. You ban Ferocidon because it supposedly kept people from playing token strategies and it kept people from gaining life and, doing things that mono red, doesn't really have a chance against, that it struggles with. But then you go ahead and print this card that still prohibits you from playing these token strategies. And so I think it was Ben Friedman, our lovable mad scientist Ben Friedman, had posted an article that was like, okay, so you ban this card, but then you go ahead and let this card happen, and sort of the mixed messages there. And is this a well-designed card? Is this a card that is designed appropriately? Is it balanced appropriately? I don't think it's ban-worthy, but I definitely think there should be discussions as to what went into this card, and is it I don't know what the adjective is to use with design. I don't want to say like correct, but just like, is it designed well? Maybe.
I'm ready. Look, I'm ready for the enraged dinosaur deck to come back and just crush all these mono red decks. Like,
I don't know about that.
Hit me, because they have that 5 mana white one, right? That if it deals damage, you get to Oblivion Ring something like that card.
Right, Trapjaw.
You're not going to play a Chain Whirler into that thing.
Chain Whirler into a Trapjaw. Yeah, that's a bad matchup.
That's exactly.
But that costs 5, so like you're already dead by that point.
There were a couple of controversies this weekend. There was a controversy over the deck list. I think it was CFB that had their deck list spoiled, or like one of the deck lists were turned in early, and I guess there was a team, I think it might have involved Andre Strosky, I'm not 100% clear, but a team had their deck list spoiled before they wanted to do so. And there was some talk about whether or not they had kind of played it for the surprise factor, and now that surprise had been spoiled, and whether or not that was a valid strategy. And there was some discussion around that. I also saw some conspiracy theories, which we love. Andrea Mengucci, during one of the drafts, opened both Karn and Teferi, and that led some people to say, oh, the packs were fixed. They wanted to create this visual, entertaining draft. There's no way that could have happened. And so I was enjoying seeing some of the more ridiculous tinfoil hat theories of the packs are stacked and the decks are spoiled and things like that. And I got a kick out of that.
You want to talk about some stacked packs? Go watch John Finkel's draft, okay? He has like not quite total disaster, but a pretty bad deck going into pack 3, and then he gets the sickest, like a 5th pick fight with fire. Like, it was ridiculous. It was
That'll
insane.
happen in Dominaria though.
Yeah,
like Dominaria draft is a wild format. I mean, you saw it with Sam Black's deck, where he just ended up with all these first packable bombs that just go 5th. And it happened. I was a little sad that Morgan McLaughlin, who got 9th, with a pretty unique deck. He had the black-white vehicles kind of deck. He also won the Team Trios tournament in Toronto with similar deck. It was sort of like had a bunch of the new knights in it and things like that. So I really would have liked to have seen that in the top 8 as well, since there were 28 more Goblin Chain Whirlers than there were Forests in this top 8.
Jeez.
So, I mean, I'm a big fan of red mana pips, but, something's got to give.
Well, that's a nice segue into the Pro Tour Team Series update that they released today.
Yes.
Because following Pro Tour Dominaria, the top 16 teams in the 2017-2018 Pro Tour Team Series has been set, with all members of those teams receiving invitations to compete at Pro Tour 25th Anniversary, August 3rd through 5th in Minneapolis. However, with the conclusion of last week's Pro Tour, as they note here, we also saw a 3-way tie for 16th place. Now, the current rules say that if they're all tied, in the event both teams have a player who had a Pro Tour finish that is in the same place, the tie will be broken by the next best Pro Tour finish across all current team members, and so on and so forth. Essentially what they said was this was bad, that hanging on things on tiebreakers, hanging things on various results, the team in total did a fine job. So ultimately they decided that all 3 teams are going to make it. So there'll be a 17th and an 18th place making it. And it's weird to me because they're like, we'll revisit this in the future. And I'm like, why? You fixed it. You found the answer. The answer is if you tie, you make the Pro Tour. Does that matter?
It makes too much sense, though. You know how Wizards is. If something makes sense, that's bad.
Right. It's very much Occam's razor, right? You're like, the simple solution is everybody gets to go. And it's like, okay.
They're afraid of making big sweeping changes like that quickly. This is certainly going to be one that they're going to do their due diligence on and then keep it the way that they announced that they're doing it.
Right.
But basically what this means is that I think it's Team Mass Drop East and Final Last Samurai are going to be able to get into the playoff rounds for the teams. We as our American, North American leaning biases aren't as big on the Final Last Samurai team, the most famous team members of which are Mihara and Ryoshi Tamada, along with obviously Kenji Tsumura.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously Team Master Drop East has a much bigger social media presence, and so in particular I was paying attention to Jarvis Yu kind of lose his mind about how bad of a beat this was. This is also the John Stern team. And it was like really just kind of heartbreaking to watch these players lose to a tiebreaker on a tiebreaker, as was referenced in the blog post. Right. So I'm happy that they get the chance to to fight for it. Just like you mentioned, Aaron, with the tiebreakers, if you go 13-2 but miss top 8 on tiebreakers, okay, you still get an invite to the Pro Tour. Similar, not the same. They'll probably futz with it a little bit, but I'm happy with the result here personally.
If reevaluating the tiebreaker system currently in the Pro Tour Team Series means y'all have to sit down and say, hey, that's a good idea, right? High five, let's go to lunch, whatever.
Right.
I don't care. It's fine.
I do want to talk about one more player that has been a treat to watch. Atsuki Kahara.
Yes. I knew that you had.
I want him to be my best friend so bad. The hair, the jewelry, the side eye. I live. Like every time he's on camera, I'm just like, I just want to watch anime with you and be my friend and talk about people. Like, oh my god, he just looks like such a sweetheart. Like I just love him.
Super cool. All right, so we're gonna move on here to gather the townsfolk. Now, as I've been wont to do the last couple weeks, and I enjoy this, is being able to say, look, I could tell you something interesting about Magic because of my position at Cool Stuff, and here's what you want to learn. Like, and this one was, what is the worst thing about Battlebond? Okay, Battlebond, by and large, very successful. Sales, yes. Very good. That's great. Multiplayer stuff out the wazoo. Commander players are super happy. Oh my god. Wizards, here's what sucks about Battlebond. Okay. And I'm really tired of this. We've done this 3 times in a row and they have to stop. You have to stop. Stop the insanity. 90s callback. Listen, stop it with the preview weekends, okay? Stop it. They're pre-release weekends. Just call them a pre-release. You even call them pre-releases on your website. I don't know if you've seen that. You can go check it out. It says pre-release weekend. But no, it's a preview weekend. So not only did you screw up the promos, which... okay, you screwed up the promos. You can search through them or whatever. That's fine. Not really, but it's fine. But however, we had people coming to events, coming to the Battlebond event, thinking that you would get promos there. Why? Because every pre-release weekend you show up and you get promos. Well, they were explained, hey, because this is just the preview weekend, you don't get promos. Literally had people get up and leave the store.
No.
Literally get up and be like, well, all right, we'll see you next week, I guess. Like. That's
rough.
It's just mixed messaging. It's really, really mixed messaging, and it's to the benefit of nobody. Don't even get me started about how they wanted to run it like a pre-release, but then they came back and they said, don't run it like a pre-release. 4 days before the event? Okay. Jesus. But seriously, just make it a pre-release. Would you stop it with the silliness? You don't have to give us pre-release boxes to make it a pre-release. Let's be clear. If this is your silly draft set, you just show up to draft, but you get the promos on the pre-release weekend because everyone's expecting them. Like that's a serious problem. Don't do that.
It's also a lot of mixed messaging, particularly with the pre-release still being a thing with Battlebond, as opposed to a preview. Whatever. Yeah. Which is this weekend with Jules Robbins from WotC, as well as Young Mage and Dana Fisher.
Yeah.
Who hang out in the chat every once in a while. Don't know if they're here tonight, but shout out to those folks, and very excited to see that this weekend as well.
Absolutely, and thanks to MTG Young Mage for the sub last week. We missed it because of the technical whatevers. But, again, I have here in front of us an ad for a Battlebond pre-release that isn't a pre-release, that isn't necessarily before the pre-release, and that's okay because I don't care that much. LRR are fantastic people. Right. But seriously, this whole mixed messaging preview weekend, you only get promos and the whatever, cut that out. You got to cut that crap. It's bad. It's terrible. Please don't do it anymore. All right. So... moving on here to Battlebond on Magic Online. Oh, God, man. It's one brick wall to another one, I swear. Now, Battlebond coming to Magic Online is fine, okay? Because remember, people are asking, like, hey, Wizards, Battlebond's coming to Magic Online, right? And they're like, yeah, we'll do it through Treasure Chest or whatever. And then they said something at the time, and I'm paraphrasing, we feel like we've got the right list of cards coming. And I'm like, all right, cool.
Don't worry, guys. I got this.
We got this. And then you read the commons and uncommons, and you're like, cool, all right. Then you get to the rares, and you're like, oh, I'm so stoked, right? Because it's almost like it was on Aaron's top 10 Wizards list literally yesterday. There is no Spellseeker coming to Magic Online as of right now. No Spellseeker. The one card for Vintage clearly. I mean, 100% clearly. Yeah, you can play it in Legacy, sure, whatever, but you're going to go find a Time Walk in Vintage with that thing. The one card that you can just, like, Vintage on Magic Online is the only way you can play Vintage in a reasonable dollar amount. That's the only way.
And I feel like you would have had to have been purposely ignoring the feedback. Like, people were vocal about how awesome this card was and how much potential this card had, and it was almost like you had to have tried not to listen or to have tuned it out. La 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 la. How did you not know this? Everyone was geeked about this card. Even in paper, it's currently pre-selling for $12, and it feels like a very glaring omission where it's just like, really.
I can't. I'm like, I don't understand how you're like, we got this. You clearly made this for older formats. Older formats are playable on Magic Online for a reasonable amount. Let's do this. I'm excited to watch you, Aaron, or any other Vintage player play with this card.
I mean, they gave us Arena Rector. Rector, so it's obvious they were paying attention to the feedback to some degree, because people were equally hyped about that card, or maybe even more so in some cases. So you knew that people wanted Arena Rector. Why did you draw the line at Spellseeker? I don't understand.
It's absurd that, and even putting it up later isn't going to solve the problem, entirely. I mean, just look at Palace Sentinels, for example, which is a common.
Palace Jailer, yeah.
Palace Jailer, yeah.
Palace Jailer is the uncommon, but I think it's Palace Sentinels is the one for Pauper. That is like $20 a piece.
Yeah.
And it's a common. Yeah. And it wasn't released. It just wasn't in the treasure chests, and then it came out a little bit later, and boom, Andrew Jackson for your common. Right? Yeah. And so this being a rare, it's going to be an even bigger issue, I assume, later.
Right.
So, you're sort of, you can try to put the toothpaste back in the tube, but it's not gonna all go back in there.
I mean, especially with VSL still being a thing. It's like, there's still a couple weeks left, and we're doing the girls and I are playing our win and in tomorrow, and it's like, what better, people, I know specifically people that are playing in the VSL were excited about this card, and why would you not want them playing Spellseeker from your new set on the VSL? Like, the peanut butter goes with that. Why do you not want this?
Well, the quote from the post says that this is a bunch of sweet cards, and I think MTGO is much better off for having them. But being honest, this wasn't what we wanted or planned to deliver. We'd hoped to get a lot more of the set, but unexpected issues came up during the M19 development cycle that forced us to scale back our plans. For one, M19 itself had some unexpected complexity that cropped up during implementation, and that cost us time, which is, I guess that's good information to tell us, and I'm inclined. I'm inclined to not blame the Magic Online team for that. Sure. But that's still weird. Like, why can't we just give them the tools?
I mean, it would be one thing if there was a list. Like, let's say they made a list and then something came up with the M19 that made them put the list aside, and maybe Spellseeker was like next on the list or two more below the list. That's a valid concern, but at the same time, I'm concerned that Spellseeker was not higher on this list, where it's like, look at the cards you got around to adding, but you prioritized over Spellseeker. It seems a little dubious to me.
And it's not like the effect is like some crazy game breaking. No. You just tutor for a certain thing for under a certain cost. All I'm saying is, on the like, you must print them, these must be in the first wave, I absolutely felt those should be in the first wave.
Yeah,
I don't understand why not. That's it.
Yeah.
Add it later. I want you to add it later. I'm not saying don't. I'm saying I would give up 2 to 3 of any of those rares for Spellseeker, because that is what I'm excited to see.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it. There is a new Magic the Gathering, I guess, TV show. Is that what we call them these days for internet shows?
Sure. Yeah. Vodcast. So when I was self-describing Magic Mics, and I was like, are we a podcast? And everyone was like, sort of, but also a vodcast. And I was like, all right, I like that phrasing better. Yeah. So we're going to use the tech buzzwords, that there's a new vodcast.
Right. We're going to talk about, our charts and our graphs and stuff. And the idea that Wizards is going to have a new show tomorrow at 1 o'clock Pacific time, so that's 4 o'clock Eastern.
2 o'clock Pacific time.
Really?
Blake tweeted this out wrong. Yeah, he said that he has a call time of 1 p.m.
Oh, I see.
But
I'm
yes,
sorry, I see it here.
Yeah, no
2
worries.
p.m. Pacific time, which is 5 p.m. Eastern time, on the official Magic channel, twitch.tv/magic. And this is going to they're going to reveal the winner of the Great Designer Search, so they're going to hire somebody at Wizards. That's pretty neat. Reveal the author of the new M19 Magic story arc. I'm hoping that this one freezes Jace's toe off. That's the one I hope. This is what I'm looking for, because I need that toe to come back later for no good reason. It's fine. All right. There's going to be previews of upcoming events. I'm not exactly sure what that means, other than like, here's an event schedule. Want an idea of what GP Vegas might have in store? Okay, but they're also opening a beta pack live on stream. That is
sweet.
That is some hot fire. That's just whoever came up with that, kudos, because that was fantastic. Because I got to see that beta pack being opened, and can you imagine if they pull a Lotus? What in the world is going to happen? Right. Like, seriously,
they're gonna pull a Shinodin Dryads in the rare slot.
They're gonna open a Lotus and then announce they're abolishing the reserve list.
Oh bother!
they're gonna flip it or rip it with the beta.
Yeah.
Pack.
Oh.
Wow. Yeah.
Whoa.
Anarchy. Oh my God. All right, so Blake is going to host this one with Steve Sunu, I believe is the right way to say that.
Yeah.
Who is the Wizards of the Coast Associate Communications Manager, so that'll be pretty interesting. So yeah, this is supposed to be a new weekly thing, officially from Wizards, filmed and shot at Wizards, to tout about
a lot more
stuff.
like, if you recall, I went on Dragon Talk, which was the official Dungeons and Dragons vodcast. This sounds like the equivalent for Magic,
right?
Being done from inside the official Wizards R&D, inside the building,
right?
I think that I'm interested to see what it is. I don't know what it's going to be.
Sure, honestly. And I can tell you, and we know from making these things, it's not that easy. It obviously takes some work, takes some time and patience. And, I wish them the best of luck with their first show, again, opening that beta pack. It's going to be good. Move on here, too. Let's see. Pauper playmats. Good old Pauper playmats. Let's pull these up for you, okay? Check out the Pauper Championship playmat, as shown by Channel Fireball for GP Vegas.
Pauper playmat.
Or as my friend Kendra says, Pauper. She pronounces it Pauper.
No. That's not wrong. The
Pauper, you guys.
The Pauper playmat is Ponder.
The ponderous Pauper playmat is here. And
on plosives.
And as I mentioned on Twitter, Pauper is not an official paper format. Wizards, please.
Paper Pauper.
The Paper Pauper needs its official policy list, because come on, we can do this. You have an official playmat for a format that does not officially exist in the real world.
Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that playmat, though, because I wouldn't get too excited about it. So here's the thing. If you're going to have a playmat that is for a championship, or that is going to be for a major event, part of the allure of that is that you can't get that playmat anywhere else. For example, if you go to Eternal Weekend, the Flusterstorm playmat, the Sol Ring playmat, the Flaming Sol Ring playmat, the Bazaar of Baghdad playmat, those are exclusive playmats. That's a reason to bring you.
At SCG Con, they're giving away the Spell Pierce, the Spell Pierce Invocation playmat,
which was the modern playmat they were giving away.
Sure. But the bottom line is that's supposed to bring you to those events. The exclusivity of those playmats is supposed to be a draw. This is a playmat that the artist sells. Like, you can go to his website and get a Ponder playmat without all the magic gunk, without the Planeswalker symbol, with all that stuff. What's special about this? Like if you're gonna give me a Pauper championship, give me Tortured Existence, give me Pyroblast or Hydroblast, or to me there were just so many other candidates that are rare and that are
Ninja
better.
of the Deep Hours.
I mean, to me it cheapens it a little bit when you give the Pauper championship art that I can go ahead and buy on the internet. Like that's not a draw to me. Like, I feel like it should have art that's one of a kind. You are at the Pauper Championship. When you unfurl that thing, no one else is going to have that except people who were there, or maybe somebody who bought it on eBay. But to me, I was a little annoyed that it's kind of, dare I say it, it's kind of common, common.
Wow. Wow.
Well played.
Well, as the Ninjurai mentioned in the chat, an oubliette playmat would be.
Yes,
Oh.
oubliette.
Oh.
The chef's kiss. Or another good suggestion, the new Seb McKinnon Quombage Witches.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many good suggestions. Shout out to the professor in the chat who's hyping us up like our hype man for Pauper now. But yeah, I mean, it is a little. Yeah, again, it seems like another misstep. We can do better.
Is that legal? I don't think it's legal in Pauper, is it?
I think that's an uncommon.
Okay.
Mental misstep is uncommon. If you go to gather and look up the card, misstep, it is not uncommon.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
Very clever.
Shout
very
out to
clever.
Arcadian Masks draft chaff.
Jeez.
Okay.
Well, all I'm saying is Wizards, again, very reluctant to actually let us play with these toys in the way we want to, but will still give a little official support, but not totally official because it's not a unique playmat. But they still paid to make these unique playmats. So, like, there was still cost there. They could have asked for the art of any well-played Pauper staple and done this, and yet it's just there's so much that is confounding here. And again, it feels like Wizards is afraid of letting us like play a commons only format. Like that's going to just wreck Magic. We're going to destroy everything because we like to play with common cards versus like the highly powered standard stuff. And por qué no los dos, y'all? Like, come on.
Yeah.
But whatever. Either way, we're gonna move on here to Arcbound Ravager's original artwork. The original
Going
Dark
from
Steel.
the cheapest format to some high dollars.
Woo! Yes, from the Pauper all the way to the king of Arcbound Ravager being sold for real, guys, $45,200. 6 hours before it was over, it was at $13.5K. And then it went to $45K, and then over $45K.
And this is the OG.
Yes.
OG
The
art.
original art, yes.
Okay.
Original Dark Steel artwork for Arcbound Ravager. That is a heck of a thing. I mean, and the Magic artwork sort of, there's a whole community around who collects the original artwork and whatnot. Yep. And those things have just been getting more and more expensive. There's an interesting thing, I didn't know about this. There is the Alpha Art Project where they are trying to track down where all the original artworks are. And there is a number of them, and I swear this blew my mind. There is a number of Alpha artworks that are gone forever because the artist painted over them.
Wow.
Because they, stuff costs money, and who knows if this Magic game thing, whatever, they got more artwork to do.
Yeah.
And there's a non-zero amount that they believe was actually destroyed because it was painted on top of.
I was surprised to learn that a lot of these artists are willing to do payment plans. Like, I think a lot of people, when they see how much the art is, they're like, I can't afford that. A good number of them will actually work with you, which is really cool and eliminates
like
period entry.
Car.
Yeah, I personally was offended, though, because Mike had the nerve to tag me in that Arcbound Ravager tweet and was like, can you signal boost this? And I was like, do you know how much pain and suffering Arcbound Ravager has caused me? Do you know how many bridges I've lost because of that card? I ain't retweeting nothing. And he was just like, well, I thought I'd count on you. I'm like,
since we have it in this sort of realm of discussion, I am very excited for Vegas. The fact that the art show won't be there is very sad to me. I thought that was like maybe the best part of last year's Grand Prix Las Vegas. Shout out to Original Magic Art and Fourth Host Mike and all the folks that put that together. I hope that that's not the last Magic Art show we've ever seen. But do visit originalmagicart.com and give them all a shout out on Twitter and let them know that because that really, like, I very rarely am I blown away by something that's already hyped up. Like, it was better
it for me. Than even
It
described.
was better than it was described. Exactly.
Like, to me, that was like the crown jewel of last year's event. And it's weird that with such a, even if you were just going to say, you know what, it's difficult to put this together, we're going to do it in 2019. That's okay. At least we know, you have it on the mind. You knew how special and good it was. It's worth the effort. Yeah, we'll do it next year because we're doing so much this year or whatever.
Well, I think part of the problem is, and I don't want to get too much into it, Lord knows we could, but I think part of the reason why is that the Vegas last year is such a different experience than the Vegas this year. The Vegas last year was a rare, one-of-a-kind event. And that's not to say that this Vegas isn't going to be a hit or a good time. But, they took that concept and kind of made it more – we have more of these sort of tentpole GPs where it's like you have the Seattle, you have the Vegas. I think there's another one coming up too. There really isn't that one standalone knockout 25,000-person GP like there was last year. And I think that we're seeing the downside downside to that is that, because there's more of these GPs, it's harder to bring a show like that. You can't bring it to all of them, but you don't have the one standout to do it for, and so that's probably why we're not seeing it, which is a shame.
It definitely felt to me like this year's GP Vegas was GP Seattle. I already feel like I went to the big event this year.
Yeah.
Now, I haven't been to this year's GP Vegas, and I'm certainly running a big panel or 2 or 3.
This guy.
My decision could change. Look, I'll remember all you little people when I get here. But my point is that, 2013 Vegas still sticks out to my memory in how special and original and unique that was. And very few events feel like that to me. And Seattle sort of had a little bit of that air. It was still a percentage of 2013 Vegas. I don't think anything will ever cap 2013 in terms of the pageantry. This is the first Modern Master set. This is the first time we've ever been to Vegas. There's 20,000 people in this room or whatever.
It was
that was absurd. It was literally unbelievable. I'm walking around it thinking this. Last year was great. Don't get me wrong. Top 5 all time for me. But it was just another scale.
The hype was unbelievable, and now they have 2 master sets a year, and now you don't even get the Grand Prix based on the master set. That was part of the shtick. That was part of the reason was that there was a ton of value in these packs. There's a value in going because there's all this stuff happening. There's value in having the whole community come together for one monster event. And as you try to spread these things out, and let's do more 3 or more double GP weekends or whatever. Let's do more master sets because those went really well. That's a problem. At some point you have to appreciate and not dilute something that is working, because just because you want more of it doesn't make more of it.
With that said, Vegas is still going to be a blowout. Vegas is still going to be spectacular. It's still going to be 3-4 times the size of a normal GP and have all of this convention associated stuff and have a billion vendors and have a billion side events and all of this other stuff that you can do.
And stuff.
And art, and you can only do it in exactly. And you can paint alongside Rob Alexander.
What is that? That's wild.
That is a huge thing. I don't think we've gotten to that one yet, but I'll bring it up now. Channel Fireball is providing an exclusive art class. I believe they said there were only 50 slots for this. And it was $65 each, and you can learn to paint along and recreate one of Rob's iconic pieces, the original Polluted Delta. You can, Bob Ross style, paint Polluted Delta with Rob in the room showing you.
That's cool.
That's amazing. If anyone has any artistic leaning, that's my $65. I'm not worried about
that. Does sound spectacular, and
that sounds amazing.
Now that you've described it as a Bob Ross style experience, I definitely regret not doing that.
I'm just saying, it sounds like fun. I've done the paint night stuff before, but I've never had Rob freaking Alexander show me how to make a fetch land. That's insane.
The actual Rob Alexander.
Yeah. And
this rotting swamp looks like he needs a friend. We can always, right? This stump in the stick in the mud could certainly use a buddy.
Well, I put the image on the screen. I put the tweet on the screen, so everybody can see it if you're watching the video. This is a unique, awesome experience, and I got to hand it to him. I've never seen anything like this at a Grand Prix, and that's really sweet. That's
a great idea. I hope other artists can do something like this. I'm not sure. I'm hard pressed to think of another artist that could do something like that, because Rob's style is so unique to him to be able to do it in a class. Obviously, if you bring Seb McKinnon along and he's like, well, we can get about 1.5 inch corner of one of my pieces done. But Rob has that sort of impressionist style.
Right, landscape type stuff.
Yeah, that you can do in a class.
Right. And but got to be careful here. If you get too excited, Aaron's going to block you on Twitter. It's not okay.
Yeah,
Bob Ross MTG.
Ross. No Rob Ross anymore.
Nope. Don't. Ixnay on the Ob Osray. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Howard Lyon does paint-alongs, I think.
Nice.
Although his stuff is also still absurd to try to replicate. But
I think Noah Bradley also has like tutorials, or like I think even at a camp at one point. But I imagine Noah Bradley being more of like the drill sergeant type, or like just.
Well, and it's not so much that like even Noah Bradley, who I believe does art camp, and there's some other artists who do different sort of getaways. This to me is like at a Grand Prix. You showed up to play Magic
with a bunch of folks,
right? And then you went and painted a Magic piece with a classic Magic artist, and then you came back and like drafted some more. Like that's insane.
That's nifty.
That is sweet. All right, so let's move on here because we still have a whole bunch to get through to Desperate Ravings. First up, wanted to mention Enter the Battlefield. Still happening. Had an amazing show that came out today on Dana.
Two came out today. One on Dana and then one on Nate Holt.
Oh.
Going back, and if you haven't seen that one yet, I think Maria Bartholdi tweeted that one because she helped edit that one.
Nice.
I'm not sure if that's an official Enter the Battlefield entry, but it's another piece of Walk the Plains stuff. But yeah, the Dana one in particular was
top notch. So I'm excited to go watch the Nate Holt one now.
I also want to point out, Ruben, you made a really nice short thread about the Dana video, and what you really liked about it was how they sort of tailored the camera positioning and the movements to really complement her, you know, because she is a kid and because she's short, you know, keeping the camera kind of low, keeping the movements very fast. I really liked what you had to say about that, and Dana just has charisma for days. You know, I remember the first time I met her, it was coming off of the plane of the last GP Vegas. I remember getting off the planes, I had a connection. She was at the airport, like I get out of the door, she's standing there and she's got this scepter and her Nissa thing, and I was like, hey Rockstar, and I gave her a high five and I was like, can I have a selfie with you? And I was expecting her to be kind of awkward, like sometimes small children are, but she immediately like knew where the camera was, she knew where her light was. I was like, wow, like you've got it right there. And that kid knows what she wants. She's very good at what she does, and very smart, very intelligent for 7 years old, and that video really highlighted that.
Oh man, and now you'll get to watch her all weekend long play Battlebond.
Oh God, that's gonna be a treat.
And she'll be spell slinging alongside us as well.
Yeah, so that's gonna be super fun. Johnny Magic, John Finkel, the man himself, is 40 years old.
Wow.
There was an adorable tweet from Landy Ho, who said,
Lan is adorable. Also,
Lan's amazing. That guy is just a bucket.
Old school pro Landy Ho. If you've never heard of him, go check him out as well.
Yeah, he is terrific, and he tweeted a photo of, you know, sort of the pre-big star John Finkel on the post Pro Tour champion, basically double Hall of Famer, Uber Magic player. Yeah, it was on 2 different cookies. It's
with a great tag too. You versus the girl she told you not to worry about.
And can we just talk about Finkel? Finkel's just a good guy. You know, we talk a lot sometimes about how we love to pick on sort of the gamers who don't know any better. We love to talk about the Overwatch blunders. We love to talk about the mistakes that people make. But John Finkel's just a good guy, like in terms of like his beliefs and the things he stands up for and the way that he treats people. You know, if you look at his Twitter feed, he's just a good guy. Like he's one of those people that you're proud to support. And just through the years, he's consistently just been somebody you want to root for. And it's been a treat watching him, you know, kind of age and grow up and see his relationship to the game. And I will never not stand for Finkel.
Oh, man.
So happy birthday to the machine.
Yeah.
Good job.
The man himself. Yeah. All right, so there was a tweet that came out based on a talk about, I believe it was about investment and from the 34th annual Strategic Decisions Conference. Man, if you're going to a Strategic Decisions Conference, man, you are up on the totem pole. Let me tell you.
It's kind of ironic that they go to a Strategic Decisions Conference and then they make mistakes like Spellseeker and just.
This is a different branch.
This is a whole different world.
As I say, not as I do.
Whole different.
We're in Hasbro territory.
Yeah.
Right. So Hasbro CEO Brian Goldner mentioned, just sort of casually as you do, that Magic has doubled in size over the past 5 years, and they believe it can double again in the next 5 years. So let's hold off for a second. I don't believe that he's talking about players. I don't think that's true. I think what he's talking about is money. They've doubled the amount of money they made from Magic over the last 5 years. It has doubled from the 5 years previous. Because, again, more Masters products, more supplementary products. Last year we had a products fire hose for like 5 weeks at the end of the year or whatever. Like, product on product on product on product. Yes, you're making money. Yes, you could potentially make more money. But, you know, obviously there's diminishing returns. Explorers of Ixalan says what's up. But, like, you know, the idea that Magic has doubled in size to an investor is just about dollars. They want dollars, they want returns, they want revenue.
I had to laugh at some of the people who replied to this tweet who don't understand how time works. There were some people who responded to this tweet and they were like, yeah, but Magic was down 23% last quarter. And it's like, you understand that a quarter is so many months and years are multiple months. And just people who were trying the false equivalence there, like, that can't possibly. And it's like, can we get you a calendar first? Like,
I mean, people will use the numbers.
Even if you look at the, like, for example, if you look at like the upward trending chart emoji, there is a downward thing in there where they had a bad quarter and then it just kept going up. And then if you look at the chart decreasing, there's a quarter where they had a good quarter. Yeah. But trends are over a long period of time. This is the difference between weather and climate. Yes. Not to get too political about it, but the point is that it's like, this is just
not political. It's just science, man.
Yeah.
But
I don't want to step in it.
I understand.
So my point is that yes, it is. They make a lot. Boy, they make a lot of money, and it seems like they are also targeting a different sector of players, which I thought was interesting. Folks like us, they don't care about. We're lifers. We're in there.
We're dyed in the wool, man.
We're dyed in the wool. We're gonna complain about Battlebond and still buy all the product. They're going specifically after what they called lapsed players and latent players. So new folks who are predisposed to Magic in one way, shape, or form, and old players who've moved away from Magic, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, there's a running joke kind of in the community that you never really quit Magic. I even in the short time I've been in the community, I've been podcasting for 5 or 6 years now, and I've seen people come and go who are like, I am quitting, you guys. I am quitting. I have this job now. I have this marriage. I am done. And then 2 years later, they're pre-releasing, and it's like, so that's definitely a demographic. I think there's a lot of people there that you could really go to and say, you thought you were done, okay? And I think even Dominaria might be a reflection of that. Look how many people came back for Dominaria. I think it was even in the advertising. I still remember this video, one of the welcome home videos, and there was at least one young man who was like, yeah, I started so many years ago, haven't touched a card since, and I am here for Teferi. I'm here for Joyra. And, maybe I think we're already kind of seeing that foundation. Absolutely.
I mean, Magic is a game that doesn't stop, even if your life may get in the way. Yeah. I mean, like I stopped playing for a while. I mean, I'm over here doing this stuff.
10 years, yeah.
Yeah, I've quit. 11. I've quit 2 or 3 times for years at a time as well. I mean, that's just part of the Magic experience. Right. So let me ask you a question, Evan Irwin, marketing manager of CoolStuffInc.com, where you can get cool stuff in stock every day. This is your job. How in the world is Magic going to double again in the next 5 years? What's the metric that they are hoping? Like, is it going to be more players than now?
No.
In terms of percentage, like I don't get how they think that's going to happen. Not that I don't think it can. I'm just saying that I don't see it.
Right. Well, first of all, you're focusing on the paper game. Focus on the IP, the intellectual property, the idea that Magic's characters, their storyline, the worlds that they go to, that those can be licensed into games, board games, video games, all sorts of products, ancillary products such as like pop figures or whatever, which we've had to a small degree. Right. Doing more of that type of stuff
Puzzle
to create.
Quest.
Right. To create Magic is more of a sort of pop culture brand rather than like this nerdy thing used to do 20 years ago or whatever. Like no, to take the IP and to sell that as licensing, and it also turns into.
So they're trying to be more Star Trek than Avatar.
Yeah.
Okay.
As a world, because and even the 10-cent thing we'll talk about, or hopefully we'll talk about here soon about being in China. Again, that's a huge monster market, and if they can make they can make headways in that's going to double you right there. Just
they can get Mu Yan Ling and the other one.
And the other one. Remember, it's only standard legal in one part in the globe because that matters.
And also Steve.
So, also Steve, for God's sake. So, Magic Arena went and kind of put their foot in their mouth a little bit about the economy and the game, and they were trying like, hey, we've been working on this for weeks. Our stuff's expensive. Deal with it. Peace out, guys. See you later. Take care. Whatever. Bye. Like it was this weird kind of post where they talked about the economy is changing, and we want to change things, and we're going to change things. And they're changing a little bit, not really a lot. And here is, again, it's frustrating that Wizards has the path laid out for them, okay? you already have the model, you already have the way it works, you already have the ability to take people from different games and be like, this works exactly like you think it does. And they go, no, 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 no. That wheel over there, the one that you've refined and it rolls so well and it's got a whole bunch of people carrying them, to the money pile. We got this new wheel, you see? And this new wheel is so much better than that old wheel because we made this one.
Yeah.
This whole wild card business is just getting ridiculous because Wizards will not let you get rid of cards you don't want. That's a serious problem. Part of the allure of having a collection is to be able to cull it and change it and trade it. We're not even a trading card game. If you can't get rid of something in your collection, is it even like a collection or is it part of this video game that you're stuck with? Because it's there forever. I get a crap card, I can't ever get rid of it. You have to solve that problem. Until you solve that problem, it's not going to go as well as you hope. And they've already solved it in all these other games. I know, maybe you don't like the dusting system. Maybe you don't like the idea that you're destroying your own stuff. But I like the idea that I'm not stuck with stuff. And I think a lot of people are too. And when people realize it, not only is there the weirdly predatory buy gems, but you can't buy the exact packs you want for the exact gems you got, which is shady. I'm serious. That's predatory and weird. You should cut that out. But regardless, even if that exists, if I am stuck with this crap mythic for the rest of my life as I play Arena, I just don't think it's going to work. I don't want it. I know other people that don't want it because of that fact. I mean, I don't care if you give me the 10 rares equals 1 wild card rare. Give me something, but don't give me nothing and then tell me to just like deal with it and the game's expensive because it's expensive and sucks to be you, bruh. Like, where we at?
Quote, we don't want people to play, and we do want people to play MTG to earn the rewards, as that's the most satisfying way to feel the reward of your accomplishment. That's an awkward thing to just put in this announcement. I mean, it just feels like they aren't doing everything that they can, and if they are, they're hiding the ball. Like, I don't understand some of the decisions here. Like, why can't I would rather throw a card away. I would rather leave my collection than stare down, this extra copy of Cast Through Time that I can't ever get rid of in my collection for the rest of my life. Personally.
I mean, it feels like this wild card thing, like somebody took this idea and ran with it and wouldn't let it go, wouldn't shut up about it, and now it's here and they just won't let you talk about anything else other than like, wouldn't it be cool to have wild cards? You know how many times I've wanted a mythic and I've had a bunch of rare wild cards? You know how many times I've wanted a rare and I've had only mythics? Like, literally, I don't want any mythics in my wild cards. I just want rare. There's no way to do that. There's no way go down. There
was a really weird delay for this announcement as well. Like, they took a while to make this announcement, from what I understand of when this announcement was planned. And there's nothing in this. It's all PR jargon. I don't understand what they were waiting for.
It's
I don't know.
They sit on it as long as they can. Again, I think obviously this is a work in progress, but it frustrates me that the problem seems to be pretty glaring. The problem that other games have already solved. They don't want to do that, but they don't want to do anything else close to that either. And that to me needs to change. All right, over here we have a data-driven analysis of Magic the Gathering streams and advertising durations, and this was written by Mr. Lubu Fu, who is one of our awesome moderators.
One of our mods.
Thank you very much for helping us out as always. And he
did
a great job.
Can you do me a favor, Aaron or Evan, and pronounce his name for me, please?
Oh my
God. Lubu-Fu?
No, his real name.
Lucas Bukafuska.
Okay.
Is that right?
That wasn't as funny as I thought it was going to be.
Thank you. Because I was trying. If I was like, See? This is a family program, y'all. Yep. This is a family. All right. He basically said, look, there is a Reddit thread about how SCG streams are unwatchable because the ads are just everywhere. And he's like, well, instead of just, going off your feelings, let's take a look at the actual data and how much live gameplay you had, how much commentary you had, how many advertisements you had, and everything else that you had. And he broke down events. And the long and short of it, essentially, is that half the time, whether it's SCG or GPs, you're watching match play. You're actually watching magic happen. The rest of it, basically, again, 12% advertisements on SCG stream, 12% advertisements on GP Hartford. Now, they show them in different ways. SCG will put advertisements sometimes in the middle of, game 2 when they're sideboarding or something.
Right. That's
something that the GPs don't do. However, if they make it up later, maybe it's just the feel bad. It's probably just, you're associating, hey, I just want to watch magic. This is interrupting me versus like, oh, the magic's over. Now it's advertisement time.
Yeah. Higher frequency, lower amplitude for SCG.
Yeah. He also talks about sort of the hidden cost of doing this kind of business, with the cost of adding more cameras, the cost of adding more commentators to, have more things to do or to create more content to keep the show going instead of going to advertisements. But it sounds like the summary of his findings is that things really aren't that bad and that,
not for advertisements.
Yeah.
The big problem with Magic is what he calls the dreaded other category. Which seems to be the real problem here, where it feels like there's less matches, and it's easy to blame that on the advertisements because that's what you think of. But turns out it's that other, which makes up about 25%, 1/4 of the Magic coverage, and it's not nearly that much, less than 1% of Hearthstone World Championship coverage. Now that's broken down into lots of stuff, things like deck techs, and also it was included in the time walk matches, which could be argued is match play. But this is partially a function of how Hearthstone tournaments can start and end whenever you want them to, and Magic tournaments have this is when the round starts, this is when the round ends. And I know that Evan and I had we had talks every once in a while when we were both at SCG about like, well, for these invitationals, why don't we just stagger the matches like we want to, so we don't have that issue. And that's a bigger fish to fry than we really wanted to get into, but it is something to consider when you're trying to be a television program. Like, this goes back to the age-old argument: are we a show broadcasting a tournament, or are we a tournament that we are showing?
Yeah,
you can't have it both ways. You literally can't, and
you have to choose a priority.
Every time, as the years have gone on, it's become more of a show that has a tournament than a tournament that has a show,
right?
Which I think is the right choice.
Right.
But this is part of sort of that fallout of that. You're probably going to have some times that are longer breaks. You're going to have advertisements that show up in different time periods, which gives you different sort of feels about it. The logistics of adding anything to coverage, adding some on-screen whatever, is often a huge issue, or at least a huge process, where you have to get the graphic design, you have to get it put into the kit that's already on the road, it has to be integrated, it has to be trained on, everyone has to know how it works, and so on and so forth. So that's a thing. Like the logistics and the management of that type of stuff is not easy.
And it's something for people above my pay grade to take a look at, but it is it's worth discussing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I appreciate Lucas at least going through and compiling the data.
Absolutely.
It's just a constructive form of dealing with this.
Absolutely. This is the way that I sort of appreciate like the Magic community when they do something like this. Like, okay, we're pissed. Let's actually go do the math. Like, he did the math, and it turns out.
I wish more people would do that. To be quite honest,
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about it. Moving on here, we only have a few more topics we can touch on, but I wanted to touch on this one, which was AJ Soccer mentioned that, he's surprised that teams don't have coaches or managers, especially if they're sponsored, because it's just so vital to maximize your playtest time and mental energy. And I can give you the real short answer as to why that doesn't happen, because there's no money in Magic. There's no money in pro Magic. There's just not. There's not enough. Like, you go play in these big leagues of these other games, you're getting like $40K to start. You get these huge bonuses or whatever. Everybody's getting paid. You got a bunch of sponsors. Money's just flying. That's fantastic. And Magic is just like, $80 GP, please. Constructed. Thanks.
Well, I think there's another
5K
angle to
payout.
this. I think there's another angle to this. And also, shout out to Tiago. AJ Soccer had linked a video from Tiago Rodriguez, who manages Card Hoarder Brazil and also works with Haruya Hopes. I love Tiago. I worked with him when I worked with Card Hoarder. He's a lovely human being. Go ahead and watch that video. But I think another thing that a lot of people don't talk about is the fact that Magic players are inherently, I don't want to say selfish, but they're trained to think of themselves as individuals, you know? And I think that there are a lot of conflicts that come into play, and maybe conflicts is even the wrong word, that when you try to put them in a team environment, I think a lot of players aren't used to that, and they're not. It's not something they transition well into, you know, and I think that there are some teams that do really well with that sort of dynamic. I know Card Hoarder Brazil was very, very good at that, where they functioned very well as a unit, and they also functioned very well as individuals. But I feel like that's something that doesn't often come up, is that Magic inherently is an individual game.
Absolutely.
And that, you know, trying to put people together, there's egos, and then there's, you know, if there's the just how they're programmed to think. And I think that's a really big hurdle to getting teams to work, is that even when you can't force people into that. That's something you can't really, I don't know, I just don't think it's very easy to do.
Yeah.
And, you know, some people are resistant to that sort of thing. You know, they want to do their own thing. They want to march to their own beat. And I don't think people just naturally can flip into that mode of I'm part of a unit now. I think that's a struggle a lot of people have.
Absolutely. We've seen sort of team manager roles filled before. I recall Danny Batterman was sort of the team manager for Team TCG Player when Craig Wesco won the Pro Tour. We've seen people take on the responsibilities of, you know, I'm the guy that's going to be the team dad. I'm going to rent the house. I'm going to do all of the things so that you guys can focus on playing. I'm going to make the schedule. I know Pascal Maynard does this a lot. When we were doing Team SCG coverage in Dublin, Ireland, SCG covered the rental of their testing castle at the time. And again, there's no money in Magic. And so when you look at how video game coaches are making $50K a year, which is better than a basketball coach can make in high school, you know, basketball. And the big teams like Cloud9 and Liquid and those kind of teams not only have a coach, they have assistant coaches, they have nutritionists, they have trainers, they have secretaries, they've got all these extra things, chauffeurs, specific drivers for the team. Like that's your team job, is you drive. And you can do that when you're giving away $1 billion like Fortnite is. But when you're Magic, it's not as easy.
It also makes it difficult to track the value of that team. You know, one of the things that we really struggled with at Card Hoarder was, are we seeing the returns or the results from the sponsorship that we're putting into this team? And it makes it very difficult to track, too. You know, not only is there necessarily not a lot of money in it, but it's very difficult to tell what exactly that money that you're putting is even getting you, where, you know, yeah, your name is on a jersey and that jersey is being seen by so many people, but it's not like there's a coupon code. It's not like you can look at a spike in traffic during a GP and say, this happened because my guy with a jersey made top 8. It's very difficult to track that too. I remember even going into even Pro Tour Bilbao. It's like, you know, I was one of there was me, the MGG guys. I think it was Metagame Gurus. They had a coverage team of Sam Tang and TJ Rogers who were there for Pro Tour Ixalan, and I was surprised to find that they were not invited back for Pro Tour Bilbao, and a lot of it was because of just there was frankly no money in it, and there was no money for even coverage people, and you know the margins are so slim, but also it makes it difficult to determine what is valuable. Whereas I looked at the coverage guys and said, what do you mean? Of course there's value here. And they were like, but we don't know how to determine that. And so when you say, you know, value in money, there's a lot to that conversation.
Absolutely. The ROI on sponsoring a team is nebulous at best.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, you wanted to sponsor a team. How much is that going to cost? How often do they get paid? Do they get paid based on performance, or do they get flat rates? What do they have to do? Do you have contracts? Contracts only exist in case the other party doesn't do what they promised to do. So then what happens if they ever actually break it? There's a ton of questions, and there's a ton of just like, why are we doing this? If I spent $5,000 sponsoring a team versus I spent $5,000 doing something else, literally anything else, promotional, advertising, marketing, whatever, you know, what's the better way to spend $5,000 of the company's money? Or that's just for example's sake.
I don't hate this idea that Mav087 says that MTG Goldfish came up with, which was a proposed $5 entry fee for GPs to just get in, which is very similar to how conventions work. You have to pay your ticket price to walk in, and then, you know, you can buy other stuff.
Right.
I don't hate that idea. I think that would certainly help supplement the cost of entering the tournaments. And if you're just wandering around and doing hangout stuff, I mean, $5 for a day is not much at all. And at tournaments like Origins or events like Gen Con, that's the going rate anyway. And yeah, there you go.
Well, note that when SCG was running events at Origins, there was a special deal set up where you didn't have to buy a ticket to Origins in order to go to the tournament.
Yes.
Because that was a big thing. Now, granted, those who played also often went to the show, which was great for the show, and that's how sort of that symbiotic relationship worked, which is cool. But again, there were sort of ways around that, and I would really. I would be very hesitant to have something like that because look what's happened to GP entry fees.
Sure.
Because you
They've
think
exploded.
that
Sure.
thing's going to start at $5 and it ain't going to end at $5. You know what I'm saying?
No, it's not. And it's also probably not going to drop the $80 that they're already charging.
Right.
This is just another revenue stream. I totally get it.
Right. So, and it's also nice to be able to say, well, you go to a Grand Prix, getting there, hanging out, trading, talking, playing Commander, whatever, is a free experience for you to enjoy, and this is part of why they have those events. Because, again, to me, it's a slippery slope, and I don't like those slopes because they get really expensive.
Because they're slippery.
They get super slippery. Real quick, I want to touch on one story for Splash Damage, because we don't really have time for the rest. But definitely this is very important for Magic itself.
Absolutely.
Which is Magic the Gathering picked Tencent as its partner in China. Tencent is a game publisher. They handle Fortnite over there, as I understand.
Yeah. They're about to launch Fortnite in China. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tencent runs all the video game stuff in China.
Basically, yes. And of course, there's a lot you have to do in terms of like getting things approved and getting through the system so they can be sold and yada yada. But to be able to help Wizards do that is a huge partnership, and that is one of those things that again, if Magic's going to double whatever the double is, that could definitely be part of it. And again, you also have these decks just for the Chinese market, because that's a market they want to get into, and here's something specific and cultural to yourself, which was really interesting. So, and then of course there's the bad joke, which I believe. We lost Aaron. Oh no, Aaron, where did you go? Aaron, please come back. That is unfortunate.
Professional Magic the Gathering.
That's what we're doing here, y'all. Hey.
Also, I'm off center now. I don't know where I'm going, but anyway.
Way off center. The point is, hey, well, it's near the end of the show, and Aaron's just got
whatever.
Eyeball there. Just what's up?
I mean, for those of you that are unfamiliar with Tencent, not only is it like the biggest gaming company, it's the 5th largest internet company by revenue in the world. It goes Amazon, Alphabet, JD, Facebook, Tencent, then Alibaba, like after that, and eBay and Netflix are further down the top 10. That is a humongous company. So they're billions and billions of dollars, tens of billions of dollars. I think that it was a foregone conclusion that Magic would eventually match up with Tencent to do the Chinese online thing. But the fact that it has happened is a signpost.
Yeah, well, and this is the first time, I'm pretty sure this is the first time for the show ever that we have lost Aaron, or yourself, I think, in middle of the show, like actual drop from Skype. My guess is maybe there's an internet connection issue, but we're going to have to keep moving. The show must go on. And Ruben, if you can slide to your right a little bit, we'll see if we can make the best of it.
To my right.
To your right, sir. All right, well, we are also at the end of the show, so that's good. We can first mention...
Oh, no. But we have 3 finisher jokes, though.
Well, we're only going to be able to say 2 of them, unfortunately. So, William, congratulations to William N. from San Francisco, California. You have won a $50 gift certificate to CoolStuffInc.com, where you can get whatever you want from our awesome store. And yeah, now we're full screen rubes, man. This is kind of awkward. It's fine. We'll keep her up there. But that said, congratulations to William N.
Wow! It just caught up to the.
Did you see that?
Yeah. I'm now all of the rubes on. Yep, there we are.
That's right. And I have to keep trying. And so we're going to move here to thanking our subscribers for this episode.
There we go.
That I totally had pulled up. Here we go. Which is appreciated, of course. As we wait to see if Aaron can show back up. I don't know. That said, thanks to Morkroth for the bits, Magius1 for the 300 bits, Pumpkin Bomb also for the bits, Mr. Lubufu, whose article we also got to feature, which is cool. And hey, even the Mox Ruby got to Got to give us a bit.
I tossed a bit in there.
Threw that bit right in, as you do. Yep. And Aaron unfortunately is totally MIA, which is awkward. But again, also thanks to Scion This for a tier 1 subscription. We really appreciate that as well, which is super cool.
I'm also you're just the only thing on the screen.
I know, and there's not. You know what? The basket fires are going in the chat, and there's not much we can do.
And the potatoes.
Oh, and the taters. If y'all got the taters, it's time
out,
we are full tater, y'all. We are max tater because we have to turn the corner now. Is Aaron there? Aaron?
Hey, can you see me?
Yes. You're back.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I there was a tab I had opened that was one of our news tabs, and it just started yelling at me and was threatening to like shut down my computer. And as I tried to close out the window, it just closed down my computer. So
wow,
I'm so sorry about that. It was really scary. It was like, we will deactivate your system, and I'm like, what? Wow. So I apologize for that.
Wow.
Well, coming back from the dead is on brand. So
yeah, you know.
Wow, we have reanimated. Well, you missed the winner of the contest. You missed our thanking of the subscribers and big givers.
I'm so sorry. Thank you, everybody.
I'm going to recenter myself.
Yes, recentered. Excellent job. Because that means we're going to turn the corner here to the finisher. The Great Designer Search 3 wrapped up this week, with the winner being announced tomorrow. And in keeping with keeping the competitors on their toes, according to Mark Rosewater, the final GDS3 design challenge was a Dark Ascension meeting where we had to change seance at the last minute. 3 finalists there, 3 hosts here. So, Great Designer Mikes, what's your pitch to replace Magic's most memorable enchantment before it trolls out the door? Ruben?
Thanks to the meme cache that Seance has accumulated over the years, you can bet your bitcoins that there's only one card that can replace it. But moreover, should replace it, and should go in every set, even retroactively. A card so beloved that it's gone into 3 of the last 5 expansions, and it's only not in Dominaria or Battlebond, simply because we haven't opened one yet. I am, of course, talking about everyone's favorite, inexplicable infinite reprint, Colossal Dreadmaw.
Oof.
Everybody needs a Colossal Dreadmaw. Every set needs a Colossal Dreadmaw.
Every single set. 6 for 6.
There it is. That's what you do. Aaron?
Well, I really like Seance, since it's a card that brings things back from the graveyard repeatedly and gets around Grafdigger's Cage. But clearly we're having this emergency meeting for a reason, and that reason must be that it is too good. So my replacement for it would be all of the same text, except make it cost 3 red mana, because Wizards will print any damn thing with that casting cost, regardless of how busted it is.
Yeah, that's a world we live in right now. You need to hang up that mountain. You know what I'm saying?
I really do.
For real. Well, R&D wants a resonant design for a splashy white rare for Dark Ascension, a fantasy thriller set with psychics or with spirits and psychics. So I'd submit a card that recalls my personal favorite spiritual psychic fantasy thriller, coming in the summer of 2012 to booster packs near you for the low cost of 2 white and a block of clay. Grease up your Swayzes and put on some Unchained Melody for the breakout hit of the summer, Ghost. Rated R for replacement rare. That's right.
Yes. Give us an Andrew Boswell Ghost one time.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So we've hungered for the love. Also, the end of the show. Unfortunately, we had some problems along the way, but that's okay. Because that ends another episode of Magic Mike's. Thank you guys for joining us here live to discuss all things Magic. Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Ruben.
Thank you. I'm glad we got all our tech issues sorted out this episode.
I'm super glad Aaron got to show up for the finisher. That would have been a little uncomfortable.
I'm always here for the finisher.
Hey-oh. Final
and
slide.
your butt's always here for the finisher.
Oh, my goodness. I want to thank our sponsor, CoolStuffInc.com, our co-sponsor, CardHolder.com, my co-host, Aaron Cannell, and Ruben Bressler. You guys for watching or listening, and I hope you support us at Patreon.com/MagicMikes. Catch us online at Twitch.tv at Magic Mikes, on Twitter at Magic Mikes Cast, our Magic Mikes subreddit, and like the